in this, you see that there is the pharma industry, what we call the commercial pharma industry. Its very foundation was based on shutting down people's kitchens first. Is that right? Because all the medicines, especially the natural ones, were traditionally made in the kitchen. So they started this entire wave in the West and in the East, literally everywhere across the whole world. That these are witch women? No, they are simply witches. The women who were using this traditional Ayurvedic and Unani system right in their homes. The medicine that was traditionally made at home, they were all called witches, and actual violence was committed against them. So the entire pharmaceutical industry was born out of this. That all of our ancient grandmothers and that entire worldwide generation that used to make all the medicine at home in the kitchen. The kitchen is the mandir of the health of the people. Is not that right? So the kitchen was commercialized for this very reason, so that the pharma industry could grow. This entire movement has been going on for a long time. And this happened during that very same time period, Aditya ji, where they first went and banned it, that women are not allowed to go into the medicine field, only the men will be allowed to enter. And even among the men, only the Christian men would be allowed. This is precisely how the pharma industry was born. First, they targeted the women in the pagan culture who made medicine at home, traditionally in the kitchen. They were all systematically killed by being labeled as witches. They were banned, penalized, and punished. Then it was declared the medicine sector is for men only. And even then, it was only for certain men who are aligned to Christianity. So this was also a tool to bring people from paganism to Christianity in this way. And from there, the pharma industry was born, and both food processing and pharma were established in this manner. This whole British Babu culture that they left behind is made of people who think that the entire world actually started with the West. So they also read the same books that the West has written, even history, because the West thinks history also started with them. So because of that, this whole thing is basically like this colonial mindset has become so deeply ingrained that to get rid of it, I mean, we have all heard our grandparents' generation saying things like the British rule was actually better than this independent governance that we have, our own governance since independence. So because of a complete sense of victimhood, there has been this massive effect of colonization on everyone's mind. It will probably take at least another generation for it to finally fade away. And whenever all of this begins to unravel, that is when the next generation will want to know that what exactly was that ancient India. Okay, so as of right now, this entire sense of pride has been completely killed off. In the last 30 to 40 years, any change that has come has been after 2014. After Modi ji came to power, a whole new awareness and a wave has been created where people are now wanting to find out what was really there. Right? Because nobody has a clue. The entire linkage has been broken from ancient India and the current generation. And if you ask the parents, they will say that British rule was better in terms of its governance. So this entire gap that currently exists, now this, our generation, my own generation, will be the one to fill this gap, and the next generation that comes will be completely decolonized. So we are going to see a very positive outcome ahead, which is a good thing. And you just have to see how in all of our ancient India, for instance, when Ravan comes, for example, when Ravan comes with the intention to abduct Sita, he completely changes his appearance. Okay, so it has been explained to you here that whatever anti-national elements exist, they will always enter in some form of disguise into your country. So we already saw with the East India Company how they came in disguise just to trade, and we saw how much they traded. They ended up completely emptying us out. They traded to that extent. So this whole act of coming in disguise, of being an imposter, right? Because the intention in their mind is something else. So the Prime Minister also talked about this at the Global South Summit, about globalization. The kind of globalization that we actually want is not this at all. Because globalization is supposed to mean a free flow of man, machine, market, and money. So globalization should apply to all countries equally, right? So then this thing about the US passport being on top, right? And India's passport being at the bottom, this should not exist if there is globalization. So this entire Western imposition that has been forced on us, it is going to take a little bit of time for it to unravel, but it is very clear to us that we had already been given all the lessons. In our scriptures and in our history, everything is written down that such and such things can happen. And yet, despite that, we still fall into that very same pit. It is because perhaps we are unable to truly connect with just how much wisdom has been given there. All right. It is mentioned in the Ramayana that King Dashrath has 3 different queens. And one of those very queens wants to see her own son become the king. Then you begin to see the true value of the promise of an oath. That if Ram has taken an oath that for his father's sake, I will leave the throne because my father had already given his word. So the sheer importance of a promise. So this entire legal framework that used to exist is why today we see that we have to introduce new things like an evidence act, because that governance itself was entirely based on dharma. So you would not have to bring in something like the evidences act, because that person's own reputation is what's directly attached to it. It is intrinsically attached to his own personal character. Then you look at how Ram Setu is right there, which is in fact the symbol of love. In its place, the Taj Mahal is installed as the symbol of love. This entire narrative is being pushed. So the Taj Mahal, well, it is, for those who are not aware, she was the 7th or 8th wife who actually died during her 14th or 15th pregnancy. And the Taj Mahal was built in her memory. And that too with such brutality that the workers who built it had their hands cut off or they died, whatever. Right, and this is called the symbol of love. The death during a 14th or 15th pregnancy, that too of a 7th or 8th wife. And on the other hand, we are talking about the ever devoted Sita, where Lord Ram himself builds the Ram Setu, goes to wage a war, and brings her back home. So that is not the symbol of love. The symbol of love is the Taj Mahal. So this entire situation, there is certainly a need to rewrite history. But from this, all the many lessons that we are getting, the profound sorrow that Lord Ram expressed at that particular stage when Sita Mata was abducted, the description of that moment, it is enough to completely melt your heart. All right. But despite that, when Ram brings her back, and some of the antisocial elements within society begin to start questioning about Sita, that is how they both become separated. But the bond between the two of them, the relationship, it is of a kind where, there is so much understanding in the relationship portrayed between a husband and wife that Sita Mata goes away into the forest, and Lord Ram, on the other hand, he fulfills his own responsibility on the fundamental basis that the entire public looks up to me, they look at my character, and they consider it to be ideal, so I must sacrifice my personal relationship. And I will become an ideal for governance, which my society and what future culture and civilization require is that if anyone is questioning my character, then I will renounce even my own personal relationship. So he endured the entire immense sorrow of having to be away from Sita Mata. And in spite of this, their relationship is such that they do not even require words. Sita Mata and Lord Ram, they can understand exactly what is going on in the other's mind simply by looking at each other. So tell me, where in which Western epic are you going to find these kinds of examples?